Hello friends, it's Shannon. I was just going to do a little demo finishing up this canvas, and am doing the T-stitch on the background. So just wanted to show how I have been doing this to make it work the best for me. So I am a scooper, and so I'm just getting ready to start another thread. And I've shown this before, but just in case you missed it, when I'm doing an even number of stitches, I often just start my thread by, I'm using DMC, so I stranded it, which just means you just pull the threads apart. And I've managed to make a knot. Bear with me. All right, so you pull the strands apart, strip them out, and then add your ends together. So this is 18 mesh, so I use 4 strands. So I'm going to take 2 strands and then just loop them together. So put all of the ends together and then thread my needle. Not explaining this very well, sorry. So now I have my ends through my needle, and then there's a loop down at the other end of the thread. So I'm going to come up from behind where I need to make my first stitch and make my first stitch, and then sew through the loop to catch my thread. And then that way, it's caught and I didn't have to run it under additional stitches. So that's how I start the thread. And then this is how I've been doing this backwards, So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to be going from Florida to Washington instead of the normal orientation, which is Mexico to Maine. So to do this, what I found works for me is to turn my canvas 1/4 of a stitch so that I can get into a rhythm. So put my needle in, and then I come up not at the next intersection, but the one below that, because you're skipping a stitch in between. You're not coming up in every hole or sewing over every intersection. So this is how I have found a rhythm that works for me doing this T-stitch. And so I just, normally you would come right up here in the next hole, but you're going to skip that. And so I just kind of get in a little bit of a rhythm here. And that is how I've been doing this. Sometimes when you do a scooping or a sewing technique, you can get some uneven tension on the stranded, on one of the strands. So every once in a while, I just kind of smooth everything back out. And over time, I will end up with different lengths in my tail, because I'm not using a laying tool or anything, but it's fine for me. I just recognize that it's not going to be the smoothest thing, but I'm not entering these things into competitions. It's really just for my entertainment and to have something pretty at the end. So I don't fret about it too much, but that's how I've been doing my T-stitch. So I'm almost done with this canvas, and then I need to find some backing fabric, but what I intend to do is sew it almost like a little pillow. Instead of doing cookies, I'll just make a little stuffed, soft ornament for my Christmas tree. So that's the plan anyway, but I don't think I have any fabric that really goes with this in my stash, but I'll go digging through. I did run to Hobby Lobby the other day and looked around just to see if they had anything that I thought might work. I didn't have this with me, so I wasn't doing a very close color match, but it would be great if I could find something that was like a little bit coffee themed. That would be fun, but I just didn't really see anything that I thought was a small enough motif to make sense on the back of a little tiny ornament. So that coffee idea might be a little ambitious. So we'll just probably end up with a little geometric or something. But okay, that's it. Now, I do still have around the letters, and I had debated about just making them solid, just doing basket weave. I'll probably still do that. Just because I did the skip, or the T-stitch up here, and I don't love the way it looks, so I think with these little tiny letters, it'll just be better if I just do straight up basket weave. So that's probably my plan. So in this case, rather than end my thread and then come up here, it's really just shorter if I just kind of run my needle through stitches and just go ahead and do some continental over here just to end my thread, just to use the thread that I've already threaded up. And so I'm just going to do some continental along this row, and then I'll go in and fill in between the letters as I can. So there's not really a rhyme or reason. I'm just kind of stitching along, and then I'll go in and fill all of this in. So that's what I'm working on. So hopefully I'll have this done in the next couple of nights maybe. And then I've got so much needlepoint finishing that I need to do, and I've just sort of stalled on that. So that's what I really need to commit to, is getting some big F finishing done. So hopefully this weekend I'll get something done. We'll see. All right. Well, thanks for coming along. I hope you were able to do some stitching or do something creative this evening. And I appreciate your patience while I just sit here and, stitch and sort of talk at you. So thanks so much. I hope you have a great night.